So for everybody, I just want to say hi, I'm Kim Flores. I'm the Director of Happiness at Johnson & Seacon, a purpose-driven creative branding and marketing agency. And on behalf of Startup Dallas and Capital One, we are so grateful that you're here today because we get a moment to catch our breaths during these crazy times and get to reflect on our talents and our gifts of service and how we can use them to create an opportunity to find our purpose. We get to hear from three amazing CEOs who have been there and done that and want to share their hearts and their courage on how you can do it too. So without wasting a single moment, let's get to our amazing panel. First, we have Lauren McKinnon. Lauren is the founder and CEO of Project Mockingbird, a strategic communications agency started in May 2018 to champion brands and causes that are changing the world. Thank you so much to be here, Lauren. Yes. Hi. Next, we have Britt Reddick. Britt is the founder of Grit Fitness, an empowering concept that started in 2015 based on her belief that mental grit and passion and perseverance are, for long-term goals are the key to both fitness and success and living our best lives. Thank you, Britt, for joining us today. Snaps.
Sure.
Yes. And finally, we have Jinya Huang. Jinya found Break Bread, Break Borders, a catering company aiming to economically empower refugee women by providing training, certification, and professional mentorship to women from Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Myanmar, and the Congo. Thank you, Jinya. So we have a powerhouse today, and we'll start by first talking to all of you guys, and then we will dive into your individual journeys of purpose. So our first question, all three of you left corporate jobs to follow your passion and create social impact, to create a social impact business. Can you tell us about how you did that leap? And we can start with you, Lauren.
Yeah, so good to be here. Thank you, Kim. And I've been talking about Kim, I have to say, for several years when I found out her job title, because I might not have left corporate America if I had that job, Director of Happiness. So I love it. So it's good to be with you. You know, my advice probably today, kind of thinking about the questions you might ask are going to be tactical like everyone else on the panel. I think all of us have stories that required some of that just tactical. We needed to actually know how to do it. So for me, the first thing I did to establish the business is I decided I wanted to own a business. And for 5 years, I saved every single month to do that. I put a certain amount aside. You know, I think that a lot of families have a safety net where they can kind of, you know, just graduate college and decide they hate the corporate world and start a tech company. I wasn't that person. And so for me, being in corporate America, especially a job that I felt really secure and safe at, I just decided, okay, I'm going to start taking some steps. And before I knew my purpose, which is what we're going to talk about today, I started to save dollars. And I think that that's one thing I'd want people to know is that you don't have to know exactly what you're going to do, just that you're going to do something for a higher good or for a greater good. And so for me, it was a little bit every single month my husband and I would put away. We had 2 small children in childcare. And so that's how I started it. I just started to think. And then every month I would educate myself a little more. I don't have a business degree, listen to podcasts. And then ultimately filing the LLC was one of those things that I felt really proud of, you know, just to be able to do that before taking that leap.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And I love how you talk about that you just took these little steps, just something so that you're propelling yourself forward. That's awesome. What about you, Britt? What did you do to take that leap?
Completely agree with Lauren on 2 accounts, the baby steps and the savings. I think a lot of the time from corporate America to starting your own business has this, you know, glamorous, sexy story of, you know, one day I just woke up and I decided I'm going to quit my job and follow my dreams. And that is not what happened at all. Just like Lauren, for 3 years, I worked full-time in management consulting and I had a side hustle. I was teaching fitness classes at a 24-hour fitness right here on Mockingbird. Rest in peace. I think it just shut down during COVID, sadly. writing a fitness blog, and I was saving money. So in that time, I had a really safe space to take some risks in the area that I was trying to start a business in, to kind of learn the industry, feel it out, so that I had some critical skills when the day did come for me to take the big leap. Something that I think, going side of how to make the jump, but more of the emotional and intrinsic internal evaluation that I had to do was, I vividly remember being really frustrated with my work and not being able to articulate why. I just knew I don't want to do this job anymore. And my dad pulled me aside and he was like, "You entitled millennials, you're just so ungrateful. You have this good job, you have good benefits, and you travel and all these things." And he was like, "Well, what do you want?" And I had never taken time to really articulate, where do I want to spend my time, And so I was 28 and I had gone to school, business school, and I had just been checking off the boxes, never really taken the time to say, what do I want to do? What do I want my life to look like? So if you are thinking about making that jump, I discourage you from quitting your job just because you don't like your job, because then you're making a transition with negative energy. Right. I think you should only make that jump if you're really excited about something else to pursue. Like Lauren said, she knew she wanted to start this business. She started planning for it. So I think it's really important to have some sort of goal or impact that you want to make, even though I didn't know I wanted to start empowering women. I loved kind of, being creative. So I knew I just wanted to spend more time doing that. So I started saving money just to pursue what that thing was. But I think that it's really important for you to spend time wherever you are in your career path and really articulate how you want to spend your time and what a successful and fulfilled career looks like for you.
So no, I love that, how you echo again, somehow just also knowing saving that money just kind of gives you that safe space about worrying about money so you can focus on the dream. Then I also love the fact that it doesn't matter what the age you are to start your new business, the why is so important, because you have to do more than just saying, "I hate my boss," right?
Yeah.
Or "I hate this work," one more email like this. It's like to know that why grounds you into sort of that soul work. And then the other financial is just like that one step is sort of you're building that muscle for the business side. So thank you. Dinya, what about you?
Well, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me. And so I think for me, I'm actually still in the baby steps. I still have my day job. And so I recently left corporate and I'm actually left the private sector and I'm actually in the public sector now. So I'm in education at the moment. I actually, during the day, I still work for Dallas Independent School District and in the creative field. And everything that I've always done ever since I was 3, I knew I wanted to do something artistic and creative. And so all the lessons that, my parents put me through, art was what stuck. And I knew I wanted to stay in this field. And for me, as a social practice artist, my work was always about the immigrant experience. I actually grew up in Taipei, Taiwan. I came to the States when I was 13. And so I've always spoke about, the immigrant experience and what that diaspora looks like, feels like, and sound like, right? And so it was really natural for me when, I saw my parents do the type of philanthropic work that I saw them role model these type of situations. And I knew that I have a son and he's actually 12. And so I knew that my mom had left a world better for me to grow up in. And I wanted to leave that for my son and just our future generation. And knowing that it was, it's actually, kind of, so I'm still, like what Britt said, I'm in that side hustle stage. And I founded Break Bread, Break Borders because I saw my mom actually used to, we actually came to the US because my aunt and uncle had a family business. And so with the, they wanted to start a Chinese version of McDonald's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I went from Taipei, Taiwan to Tulsa, Oklahoma, just like y'all. So, and and they wanted to do this family business. They needed help. And so we came and helped out with that. At one point, one of the franchises in Dallas did really well. And so that's why we moved to Texas. And so I always joke, I got here as fast as I could have. And, I saw firsthand when my mom was training immigrants and refugees to come and work in our kitchen, what a life transformation that made for all the people that, didn't have those hard, job skill sets. And, I wanted to do something to really honor that. And especially when I lost my mom to cancer 5 years ago, I thought, my mom was a chef and she was a community leader. And what better way to honor her legacy than to continue her lifelong work? And so when we kind of threw this like pilot dinner, the first community dinner, and as a social practice artist, I when the community asks for water, I don't bring them fire. And so when we threw this first dinner and everybody responded in such a way that it was conversations about, refugees from war-torn countries. All my work has always been about racial equity, about social justice, about, gender pay gap. I mean, there were so many things that, that we really wanted to, address and have these tough conversations, and the community really needed it. And really the moment that did it for me was when the women, got paid for the jobs, and they said, Jinya, you're so cute. We did, community dinners are beautiful, but that's not what we need. What we need are jobs. Mm-hmm. And so I thought to myself, well, my parents had a restaurant business, how hard could this be? And I'll just start a catering business when people ask me, like, oh, we wanted, to have all this amazing, food and hear these amazing stories of the women, being so resilient. Like, I thought, I'm, a single mom and holding a full-time job, and, just do the side hustle. How hard could it be? Well, it's super hard. So, so I'm still in that stage of, I guess what they called a third shift entrepreneur. In fact, there's a book by Todd Connor out that's about that. And so that's kind of where I am right now. I'm still juggling the mix of everything. But the thing is, I everything that I've learned from the private sector, I've taken to the public sector and vice versa. And so everything that I've learned in the corporate world is, really helping me unpack, the creative solutions that we can come to for this global migrant crisis, and and for this social enterprise. So it's one of those that it cross-pollinates, and so that's how I got there. Yeah.
And it's an amazing story, and I can already feel your mom shining on you. You're such a bright light, and I feel, and this is what I love about Just This panel, is that everybody's story and how it connects to their families, past, present, and future. And that is what keeps us going, and that we can recognize each other in other women, in other companies, in other babies, and just, again, this leads us to our purpose. So you guys answered my other little sub questions, because you're amazing. So let me focus zero in on Lauren now. You have the hot chair. Lauren, okay, so you founded your own PR firm, Project Mockingbird, that focuses on social impact and nonprofits. Now, why did you want to work with these types of brands specifically?
Well, so in my previous career, I'd always worked with social impact brands. And what I loved about that is it was in a corporate environment, which I really thrived in, just because I'm a little bit of a nerd that way. I love getting dressed up. My mom used to say my ambition in life was to wake up every day and get dressed up and go to lunch with coworkers. So I really liked that kind of environment. But what made the difference for me and what was so impactful was I was fortunate to be able to work for organizations that every single day when I went home, I knew the difference I'd made. I'd worked for Children's, I'd worked for the Environmental Defense Fund, I've worked for a lot of nonprofits, big and small. And I think that just, for me, becoming a business owner had to include that. There was no way to give that up. but I've always wanted to build something of my own. And didn't know the word entrepreneur growing up, but in the second grade, I started a pencil business. So I kind of knew, okay, I can make money this way. And so for me, starting this communications agency, you kind of have to, at a certain point when you are deciding your purpose, you know, what is it I know how to do and what can I do really well? And then can I build a business around that? So with Project Mockingbird, the goal is to be the largest social impact communications agency in the world. And alongside of that, I want to build a business where women like myself, women, mothers, you know, people who the corporate world wasn't really built for us, have a working environment where they can thrive, you know, with our values. And at the end of the day, they're able to have that feeling when they get home that I know exactly what I did today. I know the tangible difference I made around me. So it's a little cheesy, but that's the point of this panel. I think all of us really are living our purpose, and we figured out a way to do that in our own way, in our own businesses. So I don't remember your question, but that's kind of.
But no, you covered it, but you also talked about that you did love your corporate job, and then, so you loved it and hanging out with the people and culture. And so was it a little difficult to leave that and leave friends and leave?
It was, but to Britt's point, that it is so easy to start a business if you hate your job. Yeah. And then what I find is a lot of times those are not very successful businesses because the person maybe hated it so much or was in a toxic environment where they weren't able to learn skill. I mean, I needed the skills of the boardroom to be able to do what I do now. I needed to know, how did the CEO write this business plan? How did they market this service line? I didn't know those things. I wouldn't have had those jobs and those mentors. I was fortunate to have great bosses along the way. There's no way I could have started this company today. And I think to Jenya, your point, I mean, it was up until 2 years ago that I always had 2 jobs. And I actually look for that in people because I respect the hustle like all of us. And it's a good way to test yourself because if you can't do 2 or 3 jobs at once, you certainly can't own a business because it is.
Amen.
You know, there's a little bit of a different approach. I think all 3 of us are taking to this that you don't read a lot in these inspirational books about tech companies. And
we can teach you how to like those acrobats that spin all the plates.
Yes.
That needs to be part of the curriculum.
While you're doing that, while you're holding a baby on skates, trying to Google, get back online, and to get your hair done because your roots are showing. No, totally.
Can I just add to what Lauren said? I just think she brings up such a great point about, you know, being present in the space that you're in. So if you're working 2 jobs or if you're in a corporate role that you don't really love, there are some critical experiences that you're getting in that moment that you don't even realize how valuable they are until you're out of that context. I mean, example for us right now with COVID-19 and shutting down our studios, like had I not had the experience of like creating a project plan, knowing how to train people and, you know, communicate a new path, you know, on a dime from a corporate consulting role, it would have been so much harder to navigate this time period. So try to see the silver lining, even if you're in a job that you don't like right now.
Yeah. Someone just said on the chat, Jamila, it's so important. You don't have to own a business to make an impact. I mean, that's so true. I felt like I did every day based on the jobs I was fortunate to have. And that's so true as well, not to glorify this entrepreneur life. And that if you don't own a business, somehow that's less than. Nothing could be further from the truth, I think.
Yeah, I think that, to piggyback on what Britt and Lauren said, it's I'm actually a total accidental entrepreneur. This wasn't planned. You know, when my parents sold their restaurant, they asked me if I wanted to take over, and I said, "Oh no." Like there was no way I wanted to dive back into. You know, I got into retail marketing, I got into advertising, and you know, became art director and did project management, and I just wanted to kind of stay in this creative field. And you know, but there's transferable skills from every aspect of what you do, and everything you learn will come around and be useful one day. And that's the thing. It's really embracing, you know, all those versatilities, because it helps you become more agile in situations like exactly what, you know, Britt was talking about with this. It's, being able to kind of think about like, what are the alternative solutions and what is plan B, and how do I figure things out? And, if I hit a wall here and can't get a resolution, and it's not taking no for an answer also, and but yeah, you're right. You don't have to, start a business to do that. Sometimes, like my mom said, it's really just about, being a good neighbor, doing the right thing, and 3, really just practice compassion and kindness every day, and you can make an impact right away, just like, we're experiencing all-time high unemployment right now. And, somebody reaches out to you through LinkedIn and, asks for advice via email, answer that. And if you don't have the answer, find somebody that might, pointing people in the right direction. All those things, are making impact and helping people, ideate about what their purpose may be and what that next step could be, and
I love that because one of my quotes, or that I power, is George Washington Carver, is simply service, right? Mm-hmm. So wherever you are in your journey, whether you're working for a school district, your PR company, or you're just thinking, find that talent that calls your heart, right? And use that to be of service. And whether you're working with someone or going down that path of trying to make your own business, that is what you will find, that fulfillment, right? It's just to be able to continue to serve. And so just kind of thinking, circling back around in the world of PR, people create their business and we have this and we're doing it and we're saving our money and being inspired. But then can you talk to us, Lauren, about how the role of communications and why brands should invest in telling the story? Because that's something different. You got the money, you got the people, you know what your service is, but a lot of people don't think of that next step about why it's important to tell your story and get yourself out there.
Yeah, so, one of the reasons I chose to create a PR company, communications, again, it's really, we have a couple of hobbies and skill sets, and communications is mine. And so this was my path to sort of find my purpose, and everyone on here is using theirs for a different reason. But, I think if you look at what we like to talk to clients that we work with different businesses about, is if you look at ultimately what makes a business fail, or quite frankly, a relationship fail and end in divorce, 9 times out of 10 is communications breakdowns. So, if you're not motivated by the fact that communicating, your higher purpose for your company and the greater good and the solutions you're trying to solve personally for our clients, if that isn't enough to motivate them, realizing that if you don't communicate in an effective way, you're going to have very few customers, very little revenue, and ultimately probably fail. That's one reason, that's one way we talk about kind of the value of PR and communications for the clients we serve. And we're fortunate in that we are pretty selective with who we work with, and we make sure that it does align. I mean, again, none of us want to start businesses and then not really live through our kind of purpose and values. And so when people come to us, they already know what it is they're doing. They just need a better way to communicate. So I think that's really important. Just when I talk about anyone starting a business or existing companies right now, you never want to leave out that part. But, PR is how you're going to tell your story. And if you don't, ultimately, you're not going to have a business, and you certainly won't be able to make change in the world.
Yes. And make change and live your best life, which segues into Grit Fitness. I say Grit. Grit Fitness is centered around the idea that passion and perseverance is the key to fitness, success, and living your best life. Can you tell us how you came to that belief?
So I came to this belief through personal experiences that I've had in my own life. Like right now, I'm here to tell you that I was not destined to be a fitness instructor. I've struggled with my weight my entire life. I weighed 108 pounds when I was in the 3rd grade. I am not a bar instructor, ballerina turned bar instructor. That was not me. But what I have seen in my life is that in certain situations where I have truly just made a decision every day just to keep going, I haven't had to be the most talented. I haven't had to have the most money. I haven't had to be the smartest person. I just had to be the last one standing. And in those situations, I always won. I always won because everybody else would quit. So I was like, wow, my grit is my superpower. This is what makes me a warrior princess. Just the decision to get up and show up and give my best every day. I'm like, I can do anything.
Yes, yes, you can.
That's why I named the company Grit, because, you know, I started learning that at a young age as I, you know, started playing sports. And then as I started setting bigger goals academically and said, you know what, I'm going to apply to Harvard. Why not? You know, my parents were like, huh, where's that? We're from Mesquite. Like, what the heck? You know, I mean, it was just little things over and over. And I learned situation by situation that I could build my own self-confidence. I could accomplish goals. I could do anything I wanted to do, and I didn't have to be the smartest. I didn't have to have the best network. I didn't have to have the money. I just had to keep going. And so that really transformed my mental state and the way I looked at life. It helped me in my late 20s when I was working full-time in consulting and really struggling with my weight and trying to, you know, have a healthy lifestyle, because I was traveling Monday through Thursday. And I, you know, during that time, I lost about 35 pounds, and I started writing a blog about my weight loss journey. And to Lauren's point of view, you know, I didn't realize that my story was so powerful. All I was doing on that blog was just telling people, hey, I'm in my hotel gym and I don't feel like working out, but I'm going to do it today because I'm writing this blog and every day I'm working out, you know, and that just created such a community. And so I just really felt like this conviction to help other women in particular, you know, take their power back and not think that, you know, you were born a certain way, or, you know, I'm not really strong, so I don't really do this. I'm not really athletic, so I can't do this. You know, I really wanted to use fitness in my business just to help women have this mental transformation that you can have anything you want, but, you know, you can't just manifest it. You have to show up every day and work towards it. And if you do that, you will be successful. So I think fitness is the perfect tool to helping people learn that, because you have to create these habits. You have to go through uncomfortable situations. You have to be vulnerable, but you learn to have that mental grit. And I think it makes sense because it's authentic to my personal story.
And I love that. And I loved about connect with women and sort of create that community. So you work hard to, within the Grit fitness community, which lacks in another. Like if you go to some other places, it's just like, I'm going to get in, get out. I'm not going to make eye contact. Why do you think it's important to create that sense of community in the gym world, in fitness in general?
Yeah, I say it all the time, you know, in my classes when I teach, but I truly believe we're better together. And there's something called shared energy. And I experienced it in my own weight loss journey. You know, I had been trying to lose weight and feel better for like 5 or 6 years, and I would always fail. And for me, it was because I would go to a gym by myself. I'd write this detailed plan. I'd, you know, do it all this. It was never fun. It was always to solve some problem. But once it became fun, and once it wasn't just about me, and I was connected to a purpose higher than myself, then it's like I felt purpose. I was like, I need to do this for a reason. My teammates are counting on me. I'm having so much fun. And there was just more lasting motivation. And I think that's relevant, you know, not just if you have a fitness goal, but if you have any goal, if your goal is to start your own business, if the goal to start your own business is just because you want to get rich, you're going to lose motivation real quick. Okay. It's got to be bigger. It's got to be about, how am I serving other people? Why is this bringing purpose to my life? How am I contributing to the world? And the same thing happens for fitness. So I knew that I had to create that community environment at Grit if I wanted my customers to achieve their goals. It couldn't just be me. It's got to be me and all my sisters, and we're getting through this together. So we're a gym that wants you to come. We don't want you to pay your membership and not come. We want you to come every day. We incentivize you coming. We want to know your name, because your presence really impacts the success of every other girl in the room. So that community is really important.
I just have to plug Brit's gym for a second. When you walked in, when I walked in, you realized very quickly, this is not a gym. This is a movement, and you want to be a part of it. And anybody watching today has got to go. I put the Peloton in the background just for you, Brit.
I know. I was proud of you. I was going to say something. I'm like,
I did that for you. But really, it's phenomenal. It's an example of a business where you walk in immediately, you know, there's a different purpose here.
And then I think just the fact that you create this environment and this movement that women you're normally shaming ourselves, like especially when you get to these Zoom calls, it's like, I haven't done my hair. Don't look at my double chin. I'm glad you can't see my COVID belly of 40 right now on my. Yeah. So to be able to go to this safe place and feel empowered and connect, then you all help each other to your highest purpose. Like I would imagine you guys are just higher than a kite and just like can take on anything once you get through that, and it calls you to come back, right?
Sure.
And that's
so important. Yeah, especially during, you know, the shutdown, we were all locked at home. It was so nice to like talk to other women and be like, I gained 5 pounds, I gained 5 pounds, I gained 5 pounds. You know, we're all in it together. Okay, well now we're gonna create some healthier, you know, habits together. But just to know that you're not alone, and you know, anything that you feel, other people can empathize with that, and you can get through it together.
Yes. And I love how we're going to go into fitness about eating bread and breaking bread. Carbs are my love language. So Jinya, I know you spoke about breaking bread and about this, and that your mother was, you know, your inspiration and your angel to keep going, and your son is what drives you to help so many other people and women. What called you specifically to work with, you know, refugees in certain areas? And then how did COVID impact your business? Because I would imagine that would be hard right now, given trying to do catering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hugely. So I got into this work because I'm actually a descendant of refugees who escaped communism to immigrate from China to Taiwan. And so my ancestors, you know, came from the province of Hokkien during the war, and really, you know, was seeking refuge in freedom. And so being on the side of that, you know, and really understanding that, you know, human beings are group animals, and food is a sustenance. We must have it to live, and there's ways to have a healthy relationship with it. And that is really celebrating, you know, the heritage and also all the history that comes with it. And, you know, and learning, as my friend Jerry Hawkins says, you know, when we learn, you know, history, that's when we figure out the right side to be on, right? And so understanding that and realizing that, you know, things like racism and xenophobia and unequal treatment, the injustices of, you know, women throughout the world, we wanted to equal that playing field and really empower women and install some kind of economic dignity to them. And so the women that we work with, all the refugee women are from war-torn countries. And so as you named, you know, are from Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Myanmar, Nepal, the Congo. And, you know, we work with women that, you know, had to ask permission from their husbands to come and cook with us. And when they find out that they're being paid, they say, okay, you're allowed to. And, you know, there's a very different cultural aspect of what happens there. But at the end of the day, you know, when they're cooking, that's when they're empowered and realizing that, you know, that there is a possibility that they actually have a hard skill set that is transferable throughout the world. And so the women that we work with are amazing cooks. They don't need to learn how to cook. What they're learning is, you know, the logistics and operations of how to work in a food service industry in the United States. And parts of it is, you know, acquiring the right, you know, licenses, certifications, food handler's permit, you know, food manager's license, and things like that. So we're very fortunate to have amazing partners who are chefs, you know, already in the business, whether it's in restaurants or catering business, that come in and mentor the women. We're very specific that they're from the BIPOC community, and whether they're Black, brown, or people of color of origin, that, you know, we want them, the women, to see that you know, powerful women can look like this, look just like them, and get to a really amazing, successful place. And so when they see it, they can dream it and know that it's an achievable success. you know, and we are very cognizant of, like, because typically the refugee women we work with are in a very segregated community, and so when we go out to cook for people, we want to make sure that, you know, that we're breaking down borders at the same time, and so they're doing that as well as, you know, basically working with different parts of the community. And throughout COVID, definitely have been hugely impacted. And how we've been affected, obviously, is, you know, large groups of people cannot gather together. But we have been very fortunate to have still, you know, small group gatherings and still be able to cater for, like, you know, a 10 people wedding or 8 people baby shower. And I definitely, you know, as a for-profit social enterprise, I still write grants like a mad woman, and still trying to figure out, you know, how we can access COVID relief funds, you know, from different foundations throughout the nation. And it's interesting to speak the social enterprise language and try to find people who get it. And we've been very lucky. Places like SMU, you know, have been partnering with us a lot, and the different departments, you know, have been very supportive with us funding. And then, you know, a lot of the foundations that we have acquainted with in California and New York have been very supportive. And so none of the women that we work with right now have been evicted, and no one has gone hungry, so thank God. And we're very, very fortunate in that. But, you know, but that doesn't happen with everybody, you know, and we definitely are trying to, you know, pivot the business and figure out, you know, what is the next step. But, you know, still trying to keep in mind keep everybody safe and healthy.
And how do you, with all this trying to get this going, and then COVID, and then people having to ask for permission, and then smaller groups, how do you think just food in general brings everybody together with this, you know, different group of women and these different experiences? How have you seen food bring people together?
Well, I think food is like a universal language, and it's an art form that, you know, everybody can appreciate. And whether it comes in a gathering in person, or you're ordering our cookies by the box, you know, eating it, I think you just really taste the love that comes along with it. And I think, you know, that really speaks to what Lauren was talking about, is, you know, when we make the food, we don't just make the food and drop it off. We do storytelling. And that's a part of what is unique about this culinary experience is, you know, people find out about the refugee women, who they were, and what they did in their home countries, and what it was like escaping war, what it's like to live as refugees abroad, and then hitting the lottery coming to America, and then what it's like working with Break Bread, Break Borders. And in itself, it is an empowerment journey, because most of these women didn't think cooking was important. They didn't think that cooking was a skill. It was just something they learned, that they're supposed to be barefoot and pregnant and cooking, and that was it. They never knew that people would come up and, you know, ask them for recipes, and people would say how incredible their food is. And oh my gosh, you know, I was scared to try food from Syria, but the moment I ate that rice, I realized this took me back to, you know, my memory of my grandma's, you know, dirty rice from New Orleans, you know. And food memories are really powerful. And it brings that oral history, that storytelling, that community building is such a bridge building tool that it really crosses all borders. And we really use that to break down borders at the same time, because we've definitely had people come up and ask, you know, why did you come to our country and take our people's jobs? And they don't realize that these refugees didn't have a choice. And, you know, that not think about people who are homeless. These people are countryless. And, you know, and also, you know, just women, they haven't been treated really with equitable access to any kind of power at all, really. And, you know, so give them that choice of, you know, you can cook and actually impact your family and help support and contribute. And, you know, they don't want to get a handout. They want to work.
Yeah.
You know, they want to be a part of this. And truthfully, you know, women actually spend 90% of their income and they reinvest it in the communities. And you know, they'll put it in their children and education, or, you know, and really just put it straight back into the families and straight back into the communities. Whereas on an average, men's contribution of their income to the community is only about 30 to 40%. So there's a huge gap of, you know, like, you know, when you invest in women, what good can come for the world, right?
And on
that, yeah.
And on that note, because I know we only have 5 more minutes, and we're amongst amazing women, and I can see on our panel we have even more that this is definitely trying to empower them. What would you give advice? And we could do just a quick around the quad. Advice would you give to people considering leaving their job to create a job of purpose or to find their purpose? If you could just give them one little piece, what would it be, Lauren?
Mine would probably be start a side hustle, you know, to test it out, test your hypothesis out. If you have a skill set and maybe you have a lot of great ideas. I mean, I had a million ideas for apps, but I don't know how to build an app. And I wanted to start a business now and start making impact now. So I think all 3 of us kind of took a skill set we had and realized that could be a much more interesting business than we realized. So I would say just start, you know, but do it in a way that feels authentic to you. You know, I think everyone who joined probably feels this way, so I have to say it. You know, our purpose on this world is to do for others and help others. And so when you think about starting a business, I don't care if you believe it or not, that's just true, you know? So that is kind of where, if you really look through that lens, how can I be of service to others? The answer will come to you, even if you have no skills like me and it's just PR and communications.
Amazing. Britt, what is your piece of advice? We got 3 minutes.
Yeah, so I'll answer a question that was just listed in the comments along with this piece of advice. But, you know, to Lauren's point about authenticity, if you're going to start a business, especially if you're going to a crowded space where there's a lot of competitors, it's not important to be the best. It's important to be the most unique, the most different. Okay. And so we were the first concept in Dallas that was just for women, and it wasn't about ballet and being tiny and being dainty. It was about women being strong. Nobody had that message in Dallas. It was women lifting heavy weights, doing sprints. You know, we were doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And so that was authentic to me because I was an athlete. I love hard work. I love overcoming challenges, and it's got to be authentic to you. So if you're trying to imitate someone else, it's going to be really hard because you can't be them the way they can be them. And you've got to spend a lot of time being really, you know, honest with yourself on what do I like, what am I energized by, and what am I really good at? Because you do have a gift and you do have a skill set that no one else has, whether it's your gift of encouragement, you know, teaching, whatever it is. Business has to be, no one can replicate it. So as you are coming up with your business model, don't just try to have the fanciest, have the most different, and be very, very clear in articulating how you're different from all of your competitors.
Yeah. So do you and be true, right?
Yes.
And Jenya, we got 2 minutes. What you got?
So I think for me, to echo what Lauren said, you know, I just took the plunge, you know, just did it. But it was definitely something that I have been looking at. And, you know, and to piggyback on what Britt said, you know, doing something unique. This is my story. This is my love tribute to my mother. It is a passion project, you know, and I wanted to honor her legacy, and you know, no one else is not doing, it's not a unique idea. It's definitely people are doing this all throughout the world, but you know, but my personal story is what is sticking with people. And you know, we didn't get into Time magazine or got selected as a presidential leadership scholar, you know, because we were copying somebody else. We were speaking our truth, and that is, as an artist, that is what I learned, is, you know, speak my truth and use my voice. And so I want people to really understand that you know, find your voice, find your superpower, and use your voice.
Amazing, amazing. So I want to thank everybody here today to join our panel about how to quit your job and find your purpose. We hope this session spoke to you loud and clear like a mockingbird to create change in your environment, that it gave you amazing food for thought like break bread and break borders, and now you have the grit to build the muscle and create your life purpose that will always end in the road of happiness. I love you. We believe in you. We're so happy that you joined us.
So good.
God bless. Namaste. Praise baby Jesus and peace out.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye. Great job. Great job.